Thank you for letting me follow that. Later in my set, I was going to use the words pass gas, but I feel like I can use a stronger word. I noticed that you have a sign that specifically says alcoholic champagne, and the cups that's in are exactly the same as the cups for the non-alcoholic champagne. And our table noticed, as did that table back there. Our church, we don't drink in church. No need to apologize. I'm him. I understand you can all have 2 of those, depending on your weight and when you'll be driving. And if you're here right now and you're really against the alcohol being there, you're welcome. My name is Tim Boyd. I am originally from South Dakota. We've lived here. Hold your applause. We moved down here about 8.5 years ago. When I say here, of course, I'm not referring to here, but over in Bradenton. We live 7 miles from the beach. Our house is now worth 450 million times more than we paid for. We're thinking of refinancing, but we can't take out a small enough amount of money. You guys seem cool. Am I right? You can give me your opinion. He is non-committal on that. Volunteer Appreciation. I'm also a pastor, and we love that you guys do all the work, and then also give us all the credit. You do. You're like, our pastor's the best. I'm the guy that tells you to give us money, and then because of God, and then tells you that you need to do all the work, and then tells you that I'm super busy in my office at home. There are 2 things in this life that I married 20-some years. We have 5 kids. There's 2 things in this life that give me the most joy. When I get to see a person fall down, and when I get to see a person melt down. And it's not necessarily in that order. Now, falling down, this table in the back, it's going to blow your mind. Years ago, when I was a lad, drinking my first champagne in church. Do you remember when someone would fall down? It was awesome. You had to be at the right place at the right time. It had to be icy out if you've never lived anywhere else. It's like a hockey, but it's you drive on it. It had to be icy out, someone had to trip, and you had to witness it in real life. Now those guys right there can pull out their phones and Google people falling down. And they will be doing what I do all the time. The internet has increased the rate and frequency at which we get to enjoy people falling down. Now, people falling down, there's a couple kind of universal principles there. The closer related you are to someone, the less you can laugh at. All right? I'm 40. That's a disagreement with that. I'm 43 years old. If I see my mom fall down, I'm not laughing. I see your mom fall down. I don't know her. She's holding a pizza. Score. Now there's also something to do with the size of the person falling down. And you don't have to laugh at that part because you feel bad because you've only had one champagne so far. I specifically like to watch women who are 45 who But decades ago, they were gymnasts or volleyball players, and the years haven't been super kind, and they have a son that's a redneck, and he makes stuff, and one of the things that he makes is, her name is Marge, if you're wondering. And they make a zip line, but not like a zip line, like a redneck zip line. And they say, hey Mom, try this out. And she goes, absolutely, I used to tumble. And she just drops, just like a little bowl of spaghetti, right there. I also like to see people melt down. It's one of my favorite things. Now, volunteering at church, you can't laugh when it happens here. I know that. But I love seeing it. My wife and I and some friends recently went out to Outback Steakhouse. I use the term steakhouse because they use the term steakhouse. Right? It's kind of like calling a Taco Bell a Mexican restaurant. When actually what it is sewer. And if you work there, you're like, amen. It's about time someone said it. You work there? That's me? You okay if I make fun of Outback? An Outback? You guys do. Well, just gonna say this. He's bigger than me and he's not smiling. So we're at an Outback Steakhouse, which, you may not know this, but they have one of the best research and development teams in all of Australian restaurants in the States. Am I right? So we get seated by the waitress, which there's only 2 poor ladies working there because there's nobody else working in the place. I don't know if you guys have it like us. We get in and you kind of hope you're going to get a drink. You hope you're going to get food and however it goes. But we're cool. We went out for a good time. We didn't go out for a fancy restaurant. I'm so sorry. We went out for a good time. And so we get sat down, and immediately when we're sat down, I look across and there's a lady across from me, and she is clearly, visibly upset with her food. And now, it's like a special kiss from heaven, right? I could not be happier in this moment. I have dinner at a wonderful, wonderful place. I have dinner and a show. So I get to watch this lady melt down. She sends back her steak 3 times. 3 times. Don't let him hear the next few minutes. 3 times. Now, generally, you go out to an Outback Steakhouse and they get your steak wrong, you go, yeah, and you eat it. Because they have cooks. They have cooks. They don't have chefs. If you know how to cook a steak, you don't work at Outback Steakhouse. See that? You gonna back me up? I'm not asking non-committal guy, he doesn't care. Live or die, I've got a church. By the way, this is Redemption Church, is that right? Before you planted, was it Redemption Church? Is that that's not a word. Maybe it's a word, I don't care. So she sends it back 3 times. Generally, you won't send it back. If you're eating with someone that sends their food back, my wife and I go home and go, probably not eating out with them anymore. If you send something back twice, we don't let you watch our pets. You send something back 3 times, you can legally be arrested as a serial killer. I don't know if you watched the first 48, but that's the first question they ask. Is Does anyone you know or anyone with a victim ever send back steak 3 times? It's him. Or her. It's always him. You watch First 48, it's always him. It's always him. So anyway, she sends it back 3 times. I'm looking across over there, and she's clearly upset. She finally, through tears, and I'm not lying. By the way, she is attractive. I know you're thinking that. Her name is Ashley or Brooke, probably. What's that? She is dressed like Han Solo. She's got the boots up, the little jacket. It's just really cute. I really like it. She's eating she's choking down her steak through tears. Tears. And I notice she's sitting there with a guy. And neither of them are wearing rings. The collective group there is going, but then I realized what had happened. They are engaged. And he had bought her a ring. And she sent it back. Now, occasionally, you'll get to see someone fall down because they're melting down. And that is when an angel gets its wings. The guy yelling at the car, walking into the sign. Oddly specific. I've seen the video, you have too. Don't ask him, he doesn't care. Any dog lovers here? All right. Almost every time I do that, someone says, I love cats. And I say, shut up. This is a church. Cats don't belong in church. We all know that. Matter of fact, do you pick up after cats too? Or are you talking about it? What's your name? Don't tempt me. Right here? Do you pick up after cats? Boom! That's the best thing that's happened. Oh, thank you. That's great. We'll pick up your dog's food, but cats suck. Matter of fact, we'll charge extra to get rid of your cat. You know what I'm saying? All right, so we have a dog. We have a Shih Tzu. It loves my wife with a passion of 1,000 passionate things, and it hates me with an equal amount of that passion. And it sleeps here. It's a rescue dog. A rescue dog. Can we just acknowledge that that word might be a stretch? When I think of rescuing an animal, I think more like my friends and I were out fishing in the Gulf for about 10 miles out. Storm starts coming in. So like, hey guys, reel it in. It's time to, let's pack it up, time to head back in. So start turning the boat around, storms start coming, and turn the boat around. I'm like, all right, what is that? You see that? We're looking out there like, I think it's a Cocker Spaniel. We're gonna turn the boat around, we're gonna go get that dog. We're out there, the door getting closer, the dog's like, some of you cried when I did that. So we pull up closer and we see him just kind of sink like Jack did. By the way, they can both fit on the door. Give you a break. Thank you. I'm so glad that I struck a chord with they can fit on the door. You're a committal person. Non-committal. He's getting tired of me too. Oh boy. So we get out there, we get closer and closer and closer, we look around, like there's a fin over here, a fin over there, and sharks start circling this dog as he's sinking down. So I jump, and I get him, and I pull him up out of the water, throw him on the boat. He's not breathing. He's not breathing. He starts to breathe, and he reanimates, and he comes to life. That can real hero, baby. That's a rescue story. That's not your story. Here's your story. You were watching Netflix at home by yourself. You were sad. And you thought, hey, maybe a dog would make me happy. And you realized you didn't have that much money. So you went to the pound. And you had them bring out all 50 dogs. And they lined them up in front of you. And then you looked at those sick, mangled animals that are all pit bulls. And you picked out the one that you thought would be the least amount of work. And you took it home. You bought a used dog. Because you could not afford a new one. So I have a platform. I regularly stand up in front of dozens of people at church. No, your church. And I want to use that platform for good. So one of the things that I'd like to change in this world, if God said Tim, which is my name, God said Tim, what's one thing we could do to make the world better? I would say, God, I think we should cut out thank you cards. Do you remember thank you cards? You still do them. I don't know, this is a younger church. You guys might be cool. But anyway, some people still do these things. They send thank you cards for everything that happens. Do you remember your first foray into thank you cards? You just graduated high school. And all these people sent you cards with like $4 in it. And your mom said, here's a stack of cards, you gotta send it to those people. And by golly, I will be done with those one day. The joke there is I graduated a long time ago. And yeah, thank you cards. Since the invention of paper, what has every thank you card said on the front of it? It says thank you. That's the only thing I want to say. Thank you. Thank you. Tim. Now, if I could, I'd like to market your welcome cards. Your welcome cards. I don't like writing things by hand. Am I right? Do we have anybody here that's like, kids should learn cursive in school? You? You talk. This may not go well now. Those kids back there know more stuff than we ever knew at their age. They don't gotta write in cursive. The only time you ever write in cursive is on a check. And if you write a check, get out of my way at Publix. I don't have any money on me, but I have a note from the bank. As opposed to a debit card, which is like, it's really a credit card. I threw that in. Nobody else will ever hear that part of the joke ever again. Welcome. Oh, your welcome cards. Dear Karen, the other day, it was Friday, and everybody else from the cubicle cluster had left for the day. You didn't know I was in there, and you farted. I smelled it. I heard it. Karen, I tasted it. And I didn't say anything. You're welcome. Dear Redemption Church. Redemption Church. Redemption means something bad. I'm so sorry. That was not the angle I was going with. Dear Redemption Church. What's your pastor's name? Brennan? Brandon? Anybody here know it? Anybody? Pastor B. Dear Pastor B, thank you for allowing our family to give you 10% of our income and volunteer all the time for an entire year and then serve us corn? You're welcome. All right, that is my time for tonight. Thank you very much. There's not a mic stand. All right. Thank you very much. Honestly, as Justin Fennert, we're good friends. We go back a long ways. Long ways. As he comes up, I'm a pastor at church. Thank you so much for everything that you do. You guys are absolutely awesome and incredible. I don't even have to know you to know for real that just being here, thank you for what you're doing, and God bless. Thanks, Tim.